Hi everyone, we are going to get started on activity 3, HTML linking the movies project, whichever you want to call it. So I am in brackets and I have already done an open folder for activity 3, HTML linking, the one that I gave you. So if you want to pause the video and open brackets and do an open folder to this activities 3 folder, go ahead and do that. Okay, I've double clicked on the movies.html so that I have that open. And we're going to do a couple things with this project because we're going to be learning tables and we're going to be learning more about linking. This page in particular is going to do a lot of anchor links. So which is one of the things that's really helpful in HTML but not used often. So that's why we're going to do like a whole page that's got a bunch of them on there. Okay. First of all, you might notice that the start code for this page is not quite correct. So we're going to actually go into our class in D2L and I'm going to click on Content. And I've already jumped to the start of HTML code, but it is under week 2. So if you click on week 2, then you see the link start of HTML code, and that's kind of what we need. And I'm going to do some copying and pasting. I want the first 2 lines, the doc type, and I want the language part for the HTML. I'm going to go back into brackets, and I did a Command C or Control C on the PC to copy. I'm going to highlight just the opening HTML tag, and I'm going to do Control V or Command V to paste. Now the other 2 things that I'm missing are my meta tags. So I'm going to go back into the HTML and I'm going to copy the 2 meta tag lines, go into brackets, and I'm going to paste them after the title tag. Now if you want to change this title tag, you can do so. I have it as linking to other pages on the same site because that is pretty much what this whole project is all about. But normally you'd put in there the name of the company or your client name or whatever. Okay, so let's look at what's in the page already. We have our body tag, open and close, my H1 tag which contains the word movies, and my back tag. And if you notice that my live preview is already orange, which means that I already have it open. And you might have seen it when I went to copy this code. Here is the page and what's on it. There's not much on it. I'm going to leave this back for now, but normally I would go through and put in a navigation system. And if you want to use the navigation system from Tuesday that we learned in class, you can go ahead and copy and paste that. So I'm going to hit return a couple times just so I'm underneath the back a little bit. And what I want to do is I want to do the open caret and we're going to do a table tag. And then I'm going to do close caret, which closes my table, and I'm going to drop that down. So the closing table tag here needs to be directly above the closing body tag. So I'm going to leave it where it is. And everything that I'm going to put on this page is going to be in between this open and close table tag. Now when we are coding for tables, we need to code for each row. So the rows are what go from top to bottom. Okay, so each row is top to bottom. And then inside each row, we're going to do a cell or the columns. So to set up columns, you got to think of them as different cells within the row. Okay, so that's kind of how that goes. So we're going to go ahead and put in our first table row. So we're going to do open caret, TR for table row, close caret, and it automatically closes. And then there's going to be something inside there. So I'm going to go ahead and drop down to open that up. I'm going to go up to the closing or the end of the table row tag and hit return. Now I'm going to put in my first cell, which for this particular row of my table, the whole table itself is going to have two columns. One thin one on the left and a bigger one on the right. So if my cell, if the one that I'm working on has to go across both of them, because I don't need to have two column or two different cells in that row, then I need to put in something called a column span. So let's see how that works. So first I need an open caret, and I'm going to put in TD for table data. Then I'm going to do a space, and I'm going to do COL for column span, and I'm just going to choose that, and in quotes I'm going to say 2. I'm only going to have 2 columns total, so I want this to span both of them. Then I'm going to close that with a closing caret, and I'm going to type inside the open and closing table data tag, I'm going to type in the title for this table, or just a tagline. So I'm going to say movies for September 2016. Now that's the only thing I'm going to have in that row, so I'm going to put my cursor after the closing TR tag, and I'm going to hit return. And now I'm going to put in like a spacing row in between the title of the row and all the content for this table. So I'm going to do open caret TR for table row, close caret. Drop down, put my cursor after the opening tag, and hit return. So this one is going to span 2 columns, but it's going to also have our first anchor in it. So I'm going to do open caret TD for table data space COLS column span 2, because this one goes across both of them as well, and then close caret, which automatically puts in a closing table data tag. Okay, so farther on down the page, we're going to have tags or words that say back to top. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on those back to tops, and we're going to jump to a certain point in our page. Well, we have to put that point in, and that point is called an anchor name. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to do open caret A for anchor space name equals quote top. Put my cursor after the quote for top, and then I'm just going to do a close caret, which automatically puts in the closing anchor tag. Now this closing anchor tag, this is the only anchor tag that I don't have to have anything in between the opening and the closing tags, because I'm just putting in for the browser the point which it needs to go to when the user clicks on something. So that's what this anchor name means. This is the point where you're supposed to jump to. There's a couple different ways we can put in anchor names, but this one works for us right now. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and if I go into the page, you can see just a couple of things. I was on the anchor. This is the anchor itself. It shows up as this little ... Anyway, it goes away. It's just a brackets thing. It goes away once once we're out of there. But I want you to be able to see what's going on with the table. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our opening table tag, and we're going to add an attribute. So after the E in table, but before the caret, that's where my cursor goes. I'm going to hit return, or I'm sorry, not return, space, and I'm going to type in width, or not width, border equals quote 1. Save. So now I can actually see what's going on with the border, or with the table. And then the other thing that I want to do with this table tag is I want to add a width. So I'm going to do a space after the quote for 1 in border, and I'm going to do width equals quote, and we'll do 680 pixels, end quote. So with HTML, anytime you put in widths or borders or anything like that, the numbers that's in the quotes don't need any kind of unit for measurement, because HTML can only see and only understand units of pixels. Okay, so the numbers are always going to be in pixels. And that's another reason why we always use CSS to control our pages, which I would normally use CSS to control the table, but right now I just want to show you the HTML of these old school tables. A lot of people don't really use tables anymore. We used to use tables to create a whole entire layout, but with all the new HTML5 and new CSS, tables are kind of archaic. Okay, so the other thing that I want to do, if you notice with this table, is that second row is collapsed. That's what we call that when it doesn't open up. And it does that if there's no content in it. And technically there is no content in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor in after the R in that table row, but before the closing caret. I'm going to hit a space, and I'm going to put in a height equals quote 10 pixels. And that's all I really need for that one. Just a little bit of a space there. Okay, I'm going to end this video for now. We're going to put this particular project or this particular activity into several smaller videos that you can watch and take a look at. It's easier to upload and download, and it's easier to find information in the videos. So I'm going to stop this one here, and the next one is going to continue on with our table.